Thank you very much and welcome. Moving on. So today's agenda, I'm sure you're here to learn a bit about AI4Media and also about the open call. So we're going to do just that. We'll have a first presentation from Filaretti from CERT, who's project manager for our from the coordination team of AI4Media. And then a second presentation will be done by myself. I'll go through the open call, what you need to know, how you can participate, who can participate, and so forth. And then we'll have a question and answer session. Although we are in a webinar format, I'm happy to open up the microphone if you raise your hand or do some kind of signal, and then I'll give you the floor so that you can verbalize your question and we can somehow interact and try to get that question solved. Okay, so that being said, I want to thank everyone again today. I want to thank our coordinator for their availability, for your interest, and I will give the floor now to Filaretti for the introduction to AI4Media. So again, thank you very much. The floor is yours now, Filaretti. You'll have to unmute yourself.
While we wait, Samuel, just a comment from my side. My name is Yannis Kobatsiaris. I'm the project coordinator of AI4Media. From my side, also thank you very much for being here and showing interest to the open call. Thanks to Samuel and F6S for organizing this event. Just to highlight that the open calls are a very important component of our project. It is, we think, a very interesting opportunity to integrate additional technologies, application, research, and involve even more colleagues and partners in our activities. So I hope you find the presentations of the event interesting, and even more importantly, that you will apply for the call by the deadline.
Thank you very much, Yannis, and apologies, my sincere apologies for not having introduced you before.
No problem at all, no problem.
Hello, everybody. My name is Filaretti. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Filaretti.
Okay, and I'm going to give you a short introduction to the AI4Media project so that you understand what we do and what you can propose and apply for in our open call. The main mission of AI4Media is to deliver the next generation of core AI technologies for the media sector to ensure the embedding of ethical and trustworthy AI into future AI deployments in Europe, and to reimagine AI as a human-centered, trusted and beneficial enabling technology for both the media sector and also for the society. To do that, AI4Media is based on 6 pillars: a European Media AI Observatory that will set a research and innovation agenda for media AI and will monitor disruptive potential of emerging technologies for the society and the economy. And for the economy, an intensive research and innovation activity plan in 4 core areas of media AI, a portfolio of use cases aiming to directly apply the technologies developed in the project to strengthen the European media sector and society, a targeted program of cascade funding to increase the engagement of external actors in AI research and application, which is the program that we are going to apply to, and also an international AI doctoral academy that will nurture a new generation of AI alumni We'll offer courses, student exchanges, emeraldology, symposia, summer schools, etc. And finally, a virtual center of excellence that will function as a portal for all media AI research and innovation activities in Europe. In the following, I will talk a bit about our research, the research areas that we work on AI4Media. So we aim to advance the state of the art in 4 key core AI technology areas with a view to unify the currently fragmented landscape of media-related AI and offer solutions for the ever-growing needs of and challenges of the media organizations. Here is an overview of the different scientific and technological challenges that we tackle. There are, as I said, 4 research areas: new learning paradigms and distributed AI, trustworthy AI, human and society-centered AI, and content-centered AI. And as you can see, under each category, we cover a lot of different research topics, like, for example, lifelong and online learning, AI at the edge and deep quality diversity, AI robustness, explainability, fairness, and also legal and ethical frameworks for trusted AI. With regard to human and society-centered AI, we cover content moderation, manipulation and detection of synthetic multimedia content, recommendation systems, user perception of social media, real-life effects of private content sharing. And with regard to content-centered AI, media analysis, summarization, production, language analysis, also music annotation and audio provenance analysis. Now, all these research outcomes that will come from these areas will be tested in the context of 7 industrial use cases that focus on the media sector and have relevance to both the society and the economy. And they cover different forms of media, such as digital content, broadcast, video, film, audio, music, games, and address a variety of societal and democracy-related topics, such as disinformation, public discourse, media moderation, consumer privacy, creativity, and human-machine interaction. The 7 use cases are realized through collaboration between AI researchers and major European media organizations and content-related companies. In the following, I will give you some more information about each use case. So the first one focuses on AI for social media against disinformation. While disinformation activities increase and synthetic media techniques advance, the verification processes remain complex and time-consuming. And so there is a need for improved tools to support journalists and fact-checking experts. The use case explores the verification of content from social media with a focus on synthetic media detection, so detection of audio and video deepfakes used for targeted disinformation, the detection of communication narratives and patterns that are related to disinformation, including the detection of topical disinformation campaign stories, and also the use of trustworthy AI in relation to the AI functions developed for this use case. The new tools that will be developed within the projects for synthetic media detection, analysis of disinformation, and related trustworthy AI features will be integrated within the existing journalistic tools, Truly Media and TruthNest, and they will be piloted and validated by journalists in Deutsche Welle. The second use case focuses on AI for news production. So journalists face a challenging environment where the amount of incoming content is ever increasing, while the need to publish news as fast as possible is extremely pressing. So on top of that, they also need to ensure that the published content is trustworthy and relevant for the audience. So what we need here is a smart news assistant, a tool that will support journalists in the creation of news stories by providing a variety of AI-enabled functionalities for story production and development, for story curation and publication, and audience engagement. For example, this news spanning assistant can provide automatic story suggestions based on analytics of audience engagement and trend detection in social media, can provide personalized news experiences based on a user's past behavior, can automate content curation and adaptation to different audiences, etc. The next use case focuses on AI for high-quality video production and content automation. When unexpected events like natural disasters occur, newsrooms need to readily publish and update fresh news, while content quality and reliability must be properly verified. To support the broadcasters' newsrooms, we need advanced AI tools that will facilitate in-time, high-quality news productions along 3 dimensions: timely news coverage by exploring sources like social media and video sharing platforms that provide a lot of information, which, however, cannot be used indiscriminately due to quality, privacy, and reliability issues. Restoration of videos, archives, and creation of new content using footage from new sources, for example, a combination of footage from drones and video from archives to provide new viewing experiences, and also exploitation and automating suggestion of available open data, professional news gathering services, and broadcast archives to help reduce the effort of the editorial staff. The fourth use case focuses on AI for social sciences and humanities. Scholars have been adopting digital methods into these fields, aiming to exploit the knowledge included in large publicly accessible datasets. To do that, researchers and by extension investigative journalists need practical methods to sift, connect, and analyze various data and media collections when they are searching factual responses to broad societal research questions. What we need here is to develop an AI-based infrastructure that will facilitate gathering and preparation of data to support analysis on 2 levels. On the macro level, for example, exploring the role of political and gender bias in media programs, and in the micro level, for example, by close reading of specific programs, bias effects of speaker selection and topic presentation. The fifth use case is about AI for games. Over the past decade, there has been an explosion of online games and digital distribution platforms. These are now services that rely on continuously developing and adding new content over the lifetime of the product. AI can drastically improve game testing and optimization by letting developers test thousands of different configurations and provide product evaluations very fast, and also may provide methods for automatic content generation, while it also has the capacity to support new gaming interactions. So what we are doing in this use case is that we are developing new algorithmic innovations for automated testing of games to detect bugs and glitches in videos and compile test reports, automatic AI tools for the selection or synthesis of background music or sounds for the games, and also methodologies for natural techniques for natural game interaction through analysis of camera streams, for example, human body detection, gestures, etc., on the edge, and their interpretation into game commands with emphasis on real-time response and user privacy. The next use case focuses on AI for human co-creation. So music, content generation and music is an exhaustive project often developed by a limited group of people with a high level of craftsmanship acquired after extensive training. But to satisfy high demand for new content, these creators need novel tools to assist them. Music creation uses such novel technologies like AI in many ways. The introduction of AI offers a great opportunity. However, it requires an increasing level of technical proficiency, which currently is out of reach for non-experts. What we need here is tools that are going to reduce the gap between novel content creation techniques, in particular audio, music, and the artist creator. More specifically, we need AI tools that will automatically create content according to external inputs, like, for example, mood and emotional labels, and also AI assistants that will undertake the less critical parts of music creation, while the artists focus on creative tasks. And the last use case is about content organization and content moderation. Media companies have built vast digital archives over the years that have little or no metadata. This lack of coherent media asset categorization precludes the successful monetization of the assets, and in addition, those media collections increasingly include user-generated content which requires moderation. What we need here is first efficient tools for the organization of existing large media collections of photos and video. And also we need automated and human-in-the-loop moderation of user-generated content to automatically detect inappropriate content, but also a live stream optimization module for optimizing cost and precision of real-time moderation. These are, let's say, the use cases and the research areas that the project focus on, and which are closely related to the challenges of this open call. I will also talk to you about a couple of other activities and initiatives in AI4Media. The first one is the AI Doctoral Academy, which is a joint instrument for supporting a world-level AI education and research program that offers access to knowledge and expertise and attracts PhD talent in Europe, and aims to become a world reference for anything related to AI education, and define a mechanism to create inter-university sharing of educational assets in the area of PhD level AI. AIDA was an initiative of the AI4Media project, but has been established and funded by 5 other projects that are networks of excellence in the area of AI, AI4Media, Elise, Human AI, Taylor, and Vision. The memorandum of understanding of AIDA has already been signed by 53 founding members, universities, and also research and industry organizations. The curriculum has already been defined, the first version at least of it, and has 3 distinct curricula: AI Core, AI and Media, and AI and the Society. Already we are offering 63 courses, full courses, short courses, and web courses. More than 120 students have been enrolled. We have organized already 3 summer schools, and there is also an AI Excellence lecture series where world-renowned researchers give talks, where we already have 12 such lectures, and we usually have twice a month, every Tuesday evening. Another interesting program in AI4Media is a large-scale exchange program that aims to enhance mobility among young researchers and increase diversity, visibility, and impact of AI research. In this program, any young fellow from any academic, research, SME organization can participate and collaborate with us in AI-related topics. The exchanges can be virtual, physical, or a combination of both. And the AI4Media will cover travel expenses and also living expenses of the young fellows for physical exchanges. We have also created a matchmaking page to enter profiles of host and sender institution. Actually, you can apply to this program. Actually, you can apply to this program in 4 steps. So you visit our website, then you create a host or sender profile if you want to host a young fellow, or if you are yourself the young fellow and want to go to one of AI4Media's organizations. Then you search the matchmaking section to find a profile of a host or a sender that better meets your exchange interests, and then you apply a joint application with them. The program launched in June 2021 and is already underway. Finally, we also organize a lot of online workshops to educate the community on the project's research outcomes and discuss different aspects of AI. And our next workshop will be organized on November 11th, 2021, and will focus on the European AI on-demand platforms. And also, our consortium includes 9 universities, 9 research centers, and 12 industrial partners, and also a large pool of associate members. And all of you or your organization can apply to become an associate member of the AI4Media if you wish. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Filarete. And to everyone, I think this is a very much more complex project than what Filarete mentioned, but did a very good job in summarizing in these slides. So I'll go back to my presentation here, which I think is about to come up. Okay, here we are. So given that introduction, now we move on to the open call itself. So just as Phil already mentioned before, one of the things that we're going to touch upon very briefly is the challenges for the open call, which are very much aligned with the research and the use case areas that were presented. So this is something that you should keep in mind. So in terms of contents for my specific presentation, we're going to look at specifically the following, which are the objectives of this open call, why it exists and what we're trying to achieve, the open call tracks and challenges, the timeline, the funding scheme, who can participate, how to participate in the application form, how the evaluation process takes place, and should your submission and proposal be awarded, what exactly will happen in the implementation phase, and to wrap up, some tips to consider. So just to remind everyone, there's a specific Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom tool. Feel free to place your questions as we go along. I might also open up the microphone just to answer some specific questions, okay? So moving on to the objective. So as briefly mentioned by Phil already before, and considering the full scope of what the project is, the main objective of the open call is also to facilitate, to mobilize and engage a wide spectrum of different stakeholders that are of interest to us, which include entrepreneurs, companies, and that's a broad, whether that be an SME, a micro SME, a startup, a mid-cap, larger companies, but also researchers that focus and have a specific interest in developing research and applications in the AI and media domains. And what we're looking for is for you as a stakeholder to also further develop new research and applications in these domains and contribute to the existing pool of research and technological tools that will be, let's say, included in the AI4Media platform. So we're a large ecosystem of tools that we're trying to establish as well. Simultaneously, and almost a bit more specifically, we want to attract AI researchers with innovative ideas and capacity knowledge to develop complementary research aligned with what we're doing in AI4Media. So Phil already mentioned in her presentation some of the research topics that we're focusing on. And simultaneously, we're attracting RTOs, SMEs, all those that I mentioned before, industry labs, to present and develop innovative AI application solutions for the media sector, either by creating new value and building on results that we're, let's say, developing in AI4Media, or adopting new solutions that you are developing and contributing to the media sector. Okay, so through this engagement, what we're trying to do, as I mentioned at the beginning, is basically strengthen our AI4Media network, foster cross-border cooperation, and of course, increase innovation within the AI and media sectors. So moving on, we have 2 tracks and challenges. So in case you've already looked at the guidelines, maybe you've looked at the website, you've already identified that we have 2 different tracks. We have a research track, which is of course more focused on research, and then we have an application track. So when we think about research track, what we're looking for is to fund AI stakeholders and innovators, researchers, but not only. We've received a couple of questions before if this is limited to research organizations, but this is not the case. Of course, there's SMEs and other entities that do research, so you are also eligible. And what we're looking for is for you to develop new research in the AI and media domains, particularly in the topics of new learning paradigms and distributed AI, explainability, robustness, privacy, content-centered AI. So everything that you see here, and these of course are going to be aligned to a specific set of challenges that we'll show in a slide in just a bit. Keep in mind that the projects that are funded under the research track will have a duration of 12 months, divided into 3 stages of 4 months. So sprint 1, sprint 2, and sprint 3. With regard to the application track, we're looking to fund entrepreneurs, SMEs, companies, industry labs. Let's say the entities are normally more focused on applications and solutions, let's say, rather than research, to develop innovative AI solutions for the media sector. And as before, as I mentioned in the previous slide, to develop, to create new value with results that are being developed in AI4Media, or to adopt other solutions and to, let's say, expand innovation in the media sector. Contrary to the research track, the duration of these projects are is a bit, let's say, smaller in time. It's only 9 months, divided into the same 3 stages. The reason for this, let's say, less time is because we're trying to accelerate a bit the process of taking solutions to the market. So, research is a longer process, and while we see applications as, we want to see something come out of the projects and be able to contribute for the uptake by the project and for the society in general. So what are the different challenges that we have defined for both the tracks? Here we only have the specific titles of each of these challenges. We highly recommend that you look at Annex 1 of our documentation, where you have the full scope of what we're looking for, basically the objectives. I would confess that I'm not the most suited person to detail each of these challenges. So if you have a question, if you're not exactly sure what each of these what each of these challenges entails, get in touch with us and we'll try to provide more details as best as possible. So challenges for research are bio-inspired deep learning, human-centered interactive explainable AI. Challenge 3, combining deep learning-based computer vision and classic path planning, control for autonomous UAV cinematography tasks. And C4, innovative solutions for fake content detection in line with fundamental rights and the developing EU regulations. So again, as we mentioned before, these are challenges that are very closely aligned with the different use cases and so forth that Filarete mentioned in her presentation. Keep in mind that there is an open challenge for the research track. And if this is something that if none of these challenges suit what you're looking for, you can submit a proposal in an open challenge as long as it addresses, for example, one of the topics that are listed here listed below. So again, new learning paradigms, distributed AI, content-centered AI, and human and society-centered AI. As I'll keep in mind also that we'll be funding a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 2 proposals per challenge. However, we will give priority to the challenges that we have defined. So if you do submit a proposal to an open challenge, and this applies also to the application track, there will at least 4 will be automatically funded from this list of 4 challenges, and then there's let's say a lower possibility of open challenges being funded. But further details are found in the guidelines for applicants. In terms of application track challenges, we have evidence collection in digital media authentication, navigating multi-perspectivity in media heritage collections, and leveraging the power of media archives through artificial intelligence. Again, an open challenge is available. And in this case, any proposal that you would like to submit should be aligned with 1 or more of the use cases. So you should be looking into developing some kind of innovative solution aligned with one of the 7 use cases that Filarete presented in her presentation. And that, of course, you can get further information on our website, as well as the guideline for applicants. Again, in this case, a minimum of 1, maximum of 2 proposals funded per these challenges. So now that you have sort of a framework of the concept and what we're trying to get in terms of proposals, we look at the timeline. And today we're at September 30th. So we are already 1 month into the open call, let's say, window. We still have 2 months ahead of us, November and December. The open call closes on December 1st at 5 p.m. Central European time. After which we will have 2 months to carry out the evaluation and selection, and we'll get to that in a second. Basically, it's evaluating each proposal, ranking them, contacting all the applicants, and then setting up, of course, the contracts with the awarded applicants. And then you move on to into the implementation phase, which consists of 3 months, 3 sprints, as I mentioned before. So in terms of funding, the first open call has a total of 500,000 euros available, and we expect to fund 10 projects. So 5 projects in the application track, 5 projects in the research track. Okay, this is exactly independently of the quality and the ranking of the proposals. We're going to separate, let's say, each track, and we will fund 5 projects in each of these tracks. Projects are eligible to receive up to 50,000 euros per project, and the amount requested must represent 100% of the total costs. What kind of costs are these? Human resources, so the actual effort you put into developing your work. Travel, if you need to do some kind of either maybe to promote your work, do some kind of communication activity, to travel to another organization or whatnot to carry out some other activity. Other direct costs, which might be the case for application solutions, but do keep in mind that own depreciation costs are considered, and then indirect costs as well. As always, and by EC rules, activities that are already funded by other grants cannot be funded by AI4Media. So we're looking for proposals that are highly innovative, not being funded by any other type of funding program. Okay, and then funds will be dispersed in lump sums at the end of each sprint upon achievement of the objectives and the approval of the respective reports. So at the end of each sprint, you'll have 1 or more reports to deliver. We'll be checking against your KPIs, against milestones defined, and then based on that approval, you're awarded the course, let's say, transfer the corresponding budget of your project at that, let's say, at the end of that sprint. So in summary, 500,000 euros for 10 projects, 5 projects will be funded for the application track, and 5 projects will be funded for the research track. So who can participate? Proposals can only be submitted by single entities. That means one partner in the proposal. Consortiums are not allowed, so we're only looking for entity A must submit their proposal. No subcontracting is foreseen or whatnot. No working together. No 2 companies can't work together, or universities or whatever. So single entities must submit the proposal. In terms of eligible applicants, as I mentioned before in the beginning, so we're looking at mid-caps, SMEs, micro SMEs, startups, individual web entrepreneurs, and sole traders are also eligible. So if you're just a person with an interest in AI or media and you have an idea, you're also eligible to participate. Of course, what matters is that you're established in an eligible country. So not necessarily your nationality, but where you are legally established, and you'll have to submit proof of that establishment. And then we have European secondary higher education establishments, research institutes, and other not-for-profit research organizations. So that's the bulk of the type of applicants that are eligible. In terms of countries, member states of the EU, including outermost regions, overseas countries and territories, and all H2020 associated countries according to the list that is published by the EC. And in case there are applicants from the UK, you're also eligible, considering that AI4Media is an H2020 project in which the UK was still, let's say, an EU member state. So you are also eligible to participate. Okay, my slide. Okay, so how to participate. So now that we know the timeline, we know who can participate, you have your idea more or less in mind of what you want to do. What are the next steps? So all proposals must be submitted exclusively via the F6S platform. Many of you might know it. For others, it might be the first time. So we invite you to visit F6S, register as soon as possible to get a bit acquainted with the platform. It's quite straightforward, but nevertheless, we invite you to do that. We also ask that you visit the AI4Media website and read all of the relevant documentation, and particularly keep in mind the Annex 1, which is open call text, which has the general overview of the project, but also the details on the individual challenges that you must address. So once you submit your proposal, you will have to specifically indicate which challenge you are submitting a proposal to. Then there's Annex 3.1, which is a technical proposal template. So you will have to submit your proposal following we'll get to that in a minute. I'll show you the concrete example, but there is a proposal with specific sections and criteria and items that you should keep in mind for your proposal. Then there's a declarations of honor and an SME declaration form in the case you are an SME or a company. So that being said, we have here two images which represent the F6S platform. So once you log on and you're registered and you visit the link here, you will jump to our specific open call organization page on the F6S platform. From there, you can submit or start your proposal by clicking on the Connect with Samuel button. So it's a bit of an informal approach, which will take you to another page which has something similar to what you're seeing on the image to the right. So right here, you're saying there's some general information to keep in mind, and then below you have all of the fields to provide information on the proposal, who you are as an applicant or who's submitting in this case, and where you can upload all of the mandatory documentation. So in terms of documentation, as I mentioned before, there is Annex 3.1. So this is a Word document that you can download from our website, from the AI4Media website. It's a mandatory document. So if you don't submit this, there's no possibility of being eligible to participate. And we have five sections that you have to keep in mind. So we're looking for an alignment, we're looking for alignment, excellence, impact, implementation, and value. Okay, so these are 5 sections which are very tightly related to the evaluation criteria that our external evaluators, we'll get to that in a second, will keep in mind. So what the project is, how it's aligned with the challenge, the actual novelty and the objectives of the proposal, the added value of your project for AI4Media, for Europe as a whole, your work plan, the team that's going to be participating, and then the value is more related to the budget of your project. So keep in mind some mandatory items. To complete and upload Annex 3.1, the technical proposal, which you just saw, there is a page limit of 10 pages. So it is important to be objective and synthetic in what you in what you put down. Any pages that go over the 10-page limit are not going to be considered. So that'll mean you have a 0 on that criteria, which will jeopardize your evaluation. All annexes that are mandatory, and of course these depend on the type of applicant you are, have to be complete and signed. PDF versions sent back to us. Any missing information on any of these documentations will be marked as a non-eligible proposal, so you won't even get to the evaluation phase. So do keep in mind, be careful when preparing this documentation. And just some general information, just to know that AI4Media is fully GDPR compliant, and all the information that we collect is kept anonymous, used only as required for the evaluation procedure, and fully aligned with the European Commission rules. Let me have a sip of water before we continue. So looking into the evaluation process, and as I mentioned before, we are now open to submissions until December 1st, after which the evaluation process launches and runs for the evaluation and selection process, which runs for approximately 2 months. And it's divided into, let's say, 3 main steps. There's a first an eligibility check, which is done, let's say, by internal AI4Media team. Then there's an external remote evaluation, which is carried out by external evaluators with, let's say, specialized and knowledge with in the topics related to the challenge to which you have submitted a proposal. And then we have an online interview, which is only for the top 20 proposals that are ranked 10 per track, after which we go from the 10 to the 5 final selected. At each stage, depending on the outcome of your evaluation, a rejection letter is sent. And of course, those that are awarded receive their final acceptance letter and are invited to the sub-grant agreement process. So what does the eligibility check look at? So we look and confirm that a proposal is only being submitted by a single legal entity that is eligible for EC funding. So the reason for which declarations of honor have to be submitted in the SME declaration form in case you're an SME or a micro SME, a mid-cap. We also look at if the applicant and the proposal and the funding rules are followed. So if there's alignment with the challenge, if your proposal, if the technical proposal has all the sections that it should, if it's well formatted, if the amount that you're requesting is above or below, sorry, in this case, if it's above the maximum funding allowed. So there's an initial check of these rules. There's a domain here. The domain is not digital manufacturing, sorry. It's about artificial intelligence in the media domain. We look for all annexes being provided and being filled out correctly, and that documentation in the proposal being submitted in English. So this is also very important. In terms of the remote evaluation, so okay, just taking a step back, after this eligibility check, any proposal that is marked as non-eligible is automatically notified, and then basically your participation in the program ends there. Those that do meet the eligibility criteria move on to the next step, and then that consists of the external remote evaluation. As I mentioned, all proposals are reviewed by 2 external experts. We will have an open call for expressions of interest to collect evaluators with specific expertise in all of, let's say, the topics related to the challenges that we've defined. And as I mentioned before, the 5 criteria that we're looking for, or that the evaluators are going to assess your proposal against, are the alignment. So the extent to which your proposal is aligned with the selected challenge. The excellence is related to the clarity of objectives, the innovation of the concept, and any relevant legal ethical issues. We are talking about artificial intelligence, we're talking about media. So a lot of data is thrown around. It's important that you keep in mind how you address any legal and ethical issues. The third item is impact. So how you contribute to the AI4Media ecosystem, how this proposal has an impact on you as an applicant. What is the added value for you? Any economic, social impact, and how you also plan to exploit and disseminate results. So maybe if you're developing a solution, if you're focusing on the application track and you have a solution in mind, what kind of steps do you think you're going to carry out to commercialize your results? So that's a thing that's also impact related and something to keep in mind. In terms of implementation, the quality of the work plan, so the logic behind the distribution of tasks, the milestones, KPIs that are defined, and of course the quality of the applicant and the people that are part of the team. And then value, so the justification of project costs and resources. Still with the evaluation process in terms of scoring, so the final score that is given to your proposal is of course the average of the 2 evaluations provided by the external evaluators. Not mentioned here, but of course there is another intermediate step, which is a consensus meeting. So in case 2 evaluators are a bit, let's say, not aligned on final scores, then there's a meeting to come to an agreement on the final score to attribute. The threshold for each criteria is 3. The overall threshold is 5. So keep in mind that even if you score 5 on 4 of the 5 criteria, if you score below 3 on just 1 criteria, then you're automatically disqualified. So we have, let's say, a standard of having a minimum evaluation of 3 on each criteria. Then in terms of ranking, all proposals are going to be ranked based on their overall score. So the sum of criteria 1 to 5. And then we give priority based on the scores given to impact, excellence, implementation, alignment, value, and gender balance. What does this mean in practice? So if we have, if we do the final ranking and proposal number 5 and 6 have the exact same overall score, then the tie break is based on who scored the highest for impact, then followed by excellence, then implementation, and so forth. And we do that in any case as necessary. As I mentioned before, the top 10 proposals in each track are then invited to an interview. The idea of the interview is to have a face-to-face conversation with the evaluators for the applicants to have an opportunity to almost pitch their idea. And then what we're trying to do is to better understand the concept, the quality of the applicant, and how you see your application, your proposal having, in fact, some impact, particularly through exploitation perspective. So interviews will be approximately 30 minutes, and then we'll have participation of our external experts and also the AI4Media team. Again, each criteria is going to be scored from 1 to 5. Not exactly the same criteria. In this case, we have 3 criteria, concept and innovation. So we're kind of merging 2 criteria from the previous step. We're looking here at the quality and novelty of the concept and the proposed innovation. The second criteria is the impact and exploitation. And then lastly, the applicant. So this is the last stage of the evaluation process, after which another ranking is done, and then the results are finally communicated to all applicants. So coming to an end in my presentation, so should you get to the implementation phase, should your project be awarded, then there's a first step of the subgrant agreement, as I mentioned before. So there's a contracting phase where we do administrative and final checks of the information that has been provided to make sure everything is legitimate, that there are no issues with the applicant. And then once that is done, and hopefully by February of next year, we start the actual implementation process, 9 or 12-month projects, where there is different types of support provided by AI4Media. So in the first stage, in the first sprint, for example, independently, if it's an application or a research-focused project, we're providing support in fine-tuning the work plan, maybe helping each proposal integrate some resource results from the AI4Media, trying to contribute also to the exploitation of our own result of our own project, but also the overall value of the projects that we're funding. And then along this period of 9 to 12 months, for example, for application track projects, we'll be organizing boot camps and online events to support market take-up. So again, we're looking to support projects with a very strong potential for commercialization, reason for which we're going to organize these sessions to help you take your solutions to the next level, providing business support to promote innovation and demonstrate technologies. That might include sessions with the investors, for example. If you're more focused on research, then we'll allocate a coach to support the research monitoring, promotion, and integration into the AI4Media network. And of course, along all of the process, we'll provide full support in promoting project results. We have as much interest as you in having your projects, the results that you develop being disseminated to within our network and all of the European community. And lastly, at the bottom, we have, let's say, going back to how the payments are made, there are different deliverables associated to each of the sprints. In the first sprint, there is an implementation plan, basically just a fine-tuning of the proposal and the work plan, metrics, KPIs, milestones, etc. Then at the end of that period, there's a preliminary report of the results achieved, an interim report at the end of month 6 or month 8, and then a final report due at the end of the project. There's always a small meeting at the end of each of these sessions just to carry out the evaluation of progress being made. So final tips when preparing a proposal: download and read carefully all of the documentation of the open call. Pay particular attention to Annex 2, the guidelines for applicants, which provides in much more detail everything that I've presented here today. So if you're certain that you're going to submit a proposal, open the application on F-Success as soon as possible. Let's say a good practice that we've seen throughout the time is, if you're planning on doing a proposal, download the documentation, write it offline before putting everything on the platform. It's easier to navigate that way and make the updates and so forth. Again, keep in mind that there are character limits both in the platform and the technical annex in terms of page size and quantity of information. So if you have the clearer you are, the more specific, the better you're going to be. And the open call is going to be open for 3 months. So you still have 2 months to go. Take your time, read carefully, clarify doubts, get in touch with us via email, but always submit well ahead of the deadline, because we are not responsible for any technical issues that you might have on your side. If there is a clear issue on our side near the deadline that is exclusively related to F-Success, we will extend the deadline. We will make exceptions. But other than that, it's on your side. So just some links and contacts for you to follow. This presentation will be made available. Everything you can find this information on all of our platforms. So that being said, thank you very much. I do see that we have some questions and answers, or some questions already being asked. So let me open the floor. Let me see the chat as well. Okay, so there's a question from one of our, I'm not sure if everyone sees it, but nevertheless, I'm going to read it out loud. For the development of innovation application, should SMEs develop completely new application, or is it possible to improve existing solutions with innovative AI technology? So with regard to that, we're looking, considering the timeline that and being a 9-month program, we're looking for solutions. We're not clear on that. Let's say the open call is not clear on that. We're not requiring things that are completely novel, and we're giving the opportunity for people to develop existing solutions. We're here to make sure that solutions are have the best chance of reaching the market to contribute to AI4Media network and to contribute to the AI4Media platform pool of tools. So going straight to your question, it is in practice possible to improve a solution, as long as any solution that you're already working on is not being funded, is not work that is being funded by any other program. So this is something to keep in mind. If you already have something in mind and you're working on it on your own costs, then that's fine. We can contribute to that. But again, keep in mind, anything that is already being developed, any idea, concept being developed within another funded program cannot be funded by AI4Media. That is let's say an extremely important point to keep in mind. It goes against the European Commission's double funding rules. There's another question here. In the notes, you mentioned 2 proposal maximum. So I'll have to double check this again, but keep in mind, for any SME, company, individual, entrepreneur, that is not a research organization, or that is not a higher education establishment, only 1 proposal can be submitted. Okay, so if you're an SME or a company, again, only 1 proposal, but we've made an exception for 2 proposals in the case of higher education or research organizations, because we consider that they are, let's say, research organizations normally have smaller institutes or laboratories and work on different things. So we've made an exception for that reason. And a last question related to how can a commercial project on the application track contribute to the ecosystem? It will be giving away important proprietary tech. So this is a more IPR related question that is a bit harder to answer at the moment. So yeah, so in terms of trying to interpret the question, any solution that is developed by you, by any applicant, is of course going to be the property of the applicant who developed. The AI4Media does not take any ownership of any solution unless a specific, let's say, agreement is made at any time between the applicant and the developer and the project. So we're here to commercially support and help you market the solution, but we're not trying to take away any property of the solutions that you develop. I'm not exactly sure if that's the question that you had in mind, but you're more than welcome to get in touch with us through our specific email, which is taking a step back, is opencall@ai4media.iti.gr. So maybe you can send your email specifically to us, and we'll try to clarify this question in more detail. And I think there was one last question here in the chat section. So there's one question here about the digital manufacturing, and that was a mistake. My apologies here. The domain, of course, is artificial intelligence and media. And there's a question here about detailed budgeting, how detailed things have to be. So yeah, we're looking, higher marks, of course, will be given to a section that is provided in more detail. So how much man months you're going to allocate to each person participating in the team, what kind of costs that implies in terms of man months. So maybe for those with experience in Horizon 2020 funding programs, the more details you provide in that, the better your chances are going to be, because evaluators are also going to compare to the level of detail provided by other applicants as well. So in a nutshell, yes, detailed budgeting is expected. So we're reaching the hour and I don't see any additional questions. Feel free to ask anything else while I go on to the last final slide, which is to provide in a nutshell what the open call is, what it consists of. So again, AI4Media open call number 1, we have up to 50,000 euros equity free for applicants independently of the track. So for application projects, for research projects, 50,000 euros. Single entities, keep this in mind, these are not projects for consortiums. These are just, one entity A, B, and C has to apply by themselves, whether that be an SME, a startup, whether that be a mid-cap or a smaller company, whether you're an entrepreneur, research organizations, or from secondary higher education. Those are the type of entities that are eligible. We have 10 projects to be funded, 5 per track, application and research. Again, keep in mind the challenges that are available to submit to. And lastly, in terms of our other offer, market-driven services, we're here to support the market take-up of your solution, business and research support, and then also visibility and promotion along the full implementation of the project. So that concludes my session, and I thank everyone for having stayed here until the end. I'm not sure if before we wrap up, if Filareti, if you have any final comments. If not, we can say goodbye to our participants today.
No, unless there are questions from the audience.
No, I think everything that's in the Q&A and the chat has been answered. If again, if there's something that I wasn't clear about, please do get in touch, and I'll try to be a bit more specific with the answer. I appreciate the questions that were already sent. Okay, if nothing else, then again, on behalf of AI4Media, I want to thank everyone for joining today. I hope that the webinar was useful, that has incentivized you to participate and to participate in the open call to submit your proposal. I believe after we wrap up, you'll receive an email maybe with a request to submit your answers to a quick survey that'll help us improve also for our next webinars and the information that we provide on the open calls. So again, thank you very much for joining today, and we hope to hear from you again soon. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.